And that's everything I know about the upcoming Nexuses.
It's a very interesting discussion, Liam. I'm so sad we can't share it with our
Yeah.
listeners.
I'll be interested to see if it really comes to be that way, though. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
seem
mean,
likely, but stranger things have
We'll
happened,
find
I
out
guess.
at the date that I specified in my earlier
an
statements.
oblong spheroid seems like a pretty unnatural form factor.
I know it sounds crazy, but you'll see. The Nexus egg
Well,
will
it'll
be a
work.
success.
It'll work so well with the pyramid.
Yes.
I would love a pyramid, actually.
Not the
The
triangle,
Nexus
the
cube
pyramid.
Whew. Giant screens. Hey, wow, I didn't know you could arrow through things in Hangouts.
You know, it really annoys me that these headphones are like having a suspension system on your head, and they look crooked most of the time. Maybe my head's crooked.
Maybe.
Having a real time with these. I can never get them to look centered. That's good enough, I guess.
Oh, it's definitely crooked now.
God damn it, Matt, shut up.
Yep. It's definitely
Okay, I'm going to social us because I forgot to do that last week, I think. Maybe it was the week before I forgot to do it. Either way, I'm going to do it now. And we are sponsored this week, so let me prepare the blurb.
the blurb. Nothing stops the blurb.
Okay, is that going to work? Yes, okay. Okay, I think we are ready to go. Except that Ryan's not on this week. There, I fixed it. Oh, I should hit the record button. That would be helpful. All right, we can start 2 minutes early. That's not a big deal. This week's Android Police podcast is brought to you by Linode Hosting Services. Check them out at linode.com/Android Police for a free $20 Linode service credit.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Friday, June 3rd, 2016. I'm your host, Matthew Smith.
I'm David Ruddick.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm Cody Toombs.
And, yeah, we got a show tonight, guys. We're doing a show on a Friday. Lots of devices announced. Why were so many devices announced this week? Seems kind of...
Because it's a Computex.
Oh, that's right, Computex. And
Actually, I don't know how many devices were actually announced. There's some.
I bet you that Asus and Acer probably announced there.
Yeah, because being T1Es, you'd probably want to announce at a T1Es trade show. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
LG and Samsung, though, I don't think they would have. I don't know. Maybe I should read the articles that we wrote about those things. And
You could do that.
Information. All right. Well, we're going to kick things off with a little code Google, starting off with some interesting news out of Huawei. Apparently, a regional lead has said in an interview, I believe in a South African newspaper, that Huawei is doing the Nexus again this year. So, what does it mean? First of all, what does it mean to be doing the Nexus? Is it the new dance sensation that's sweeping the nation, or?
I hope so.
I hope so too. Sounds good.
But what would the Nexus dance be?
I don't know. What could be?
Does everybody just stand there and look at their phones, or
They stand and they unlock their bootloaders. I mean, what else would they do?
maybe everybody dresses as their favorite icon set? Just the color palette of their favorite icons. And then the Nexus is actually, it's not so much as a dance as everybody tries to get to the center of the floor at once, and most people are crushed in the process.
See, I would think they would just do. It would be a dance that you would observe from overhead, and it would just be a group of people doing the boot animation with the spinning circles.
Oh, that could be cool. Synchronized swimming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Do the
There you
Nexus.
go.
Seems significantly more sophisticated than the first option. This comes off to me as like a statement based on something that this person heard at some point in the past, and is just like saying it, like, "Oh yeah, we're doing the Nexus." But
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so as far as we know, both of the HTC Nexus phones are still around. So they're still doing those. They're doing those Nexuses, as far as we are aware. Whether or not there is a Huawei Nexus, and the conversation was in the context of phones at that particular moment, I think. So
But one thing is like doing the Nexus. There were two Nexuses last time.
Yeah, but they
and there
only
will be
did
multiple
one.
this time. Yeah, but it's not the Nexus. It just seems like a weird way of putting it to me.
well,
Besides the
Liam, it
doing
is South Africa, so you know.
Sure, okay. But
That's going to be my explanation for everything going forward.
I
Well-
don't know if I find that acceptable, but
It is
I'll
South
take it.
Africa. You know, the Nexus 6P feels sluggish. Well, it is South Africa, after all.
So is the overwhelming opinion basically that this particular gentleman is misinformed? Is that
This
the
particular lady,
Lady, sorry.
either is misinformed or something has changed dramatically relatively recently. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, it could be possible she wasn't referring to a phone. It could be referring to a tablet or some other form factor. Maybe. I don't know.
Cough, cough.
please let it be a payments ring.
Oh, jeez.
The WAPay.
Oh my god.
WAPay with your watch.
Now you've put it into the universe.
Yes. All right.
All right. So in other Google hardware news, the acquisition that was kind of all set to be the hardware division of Google, the Nest acquisition, the founder and president of Nest, Tony Fadell, who was still running that department long after the acquisition, apparently is no more, which is interesting because there's been a lot of posts, a lot of stories talking about kind of a free fall situation there with Nest, along with a lot of criticism about slow to market with new hardware. But Tony Fadell is now officially no longer in charge of the Nest division. He is now an advisor to Larry Page. So.
You know, I'm going to admit something that makes me very biased here. I don't like Tony Fadell's name. I don't know why. Doesn't strike me as a particularly likable or trustworthy name for no reason at all. It just sounds like, you know, if you were to like Tony Fadell, you know, the guy down at the used car sales lot, you know, Tony Fadell, the guy who works at the payday loan place, Tony Fadell, you know, the guy who is cooking up his next harebrained scheme. Doesn't actually make any sense. I don't know why I associate that name with those things. But it's probably all saying to do with the fact that there were a lot of reports coming out that Tony Fadell is kind of not great to work with, apparently.
Well, apparently Larry Page likes working with him, at least to some degree. I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks advisory role just means we want to get rid of you, but we don't want to give you a severance package.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, too. Not so much that we want to bring you into the fold as much as like, oh, please stop messing this up. But I don't know. It's hard to see. It's very opaque.
So Marwan Fawaz, I'm sure I butchered that name.
That's probably close.
Marwan Fawaz is now taking over the Nest division, and that was the news that came out this week. So that is the new CEO, Marwan Fawaz, taking over for Tony Fadell, who is now getting paid to do a lesser thing at Google. So
I guess, yeah. I mean, and honestly, what was so great? I mean, so Nest really was a one-hit wonder. I mean, they have the thermostat, which, granted, it was like the first kind of thing of its kind, and they did seemingly a pretty good job with it. And then there is the Nest Alarm, which was a smoke alarm, but marginally more expensive and not necessarily that much better.
Nest Protect.
And yeah, and then Nest Protect, and then they bought Dropcam, and then the founder of Dropcam later said it was one thing he deeply regretted was being sold to Nest, which is like the least ringing endorsement possible. So,
Yeah.
and then they just rebranded, Dropcams as Nest Cams, and that's really all they did. And then they killed that smart home hub thing. What was it called? Revolve. Yeah, they bought that company, which they
The
made a
host
smart.
container?
I don't remember what the actual is. Revolve Smart Home, and this company made a smart home hub, and then Nest killed the hub and stopped supporting it. And apparently, that's when that story came out that Recode got into Google's internal chat or boards or whatever, and they were posting all these memes about how everybody hated Nest. All these Googlers were posting these anonymous memes about like hating Tony Fadell and Nest, and being generally upset at the whole division. And comparing Tony Fadell to Vic Condotra, which is probably the least flattering thing a Googler can do to somebody who works for Google.
Wait, why is it unflattering to be compared to Vic Condotra?
I don't think a lot of people liked Vic.
He seemed cool from an outside perspective.
I know nothing about other than he worked there, but hey, yeah, never got a bad impression on him.
I think his public persona was very likable, but there was definitely a number of stories about how he was not liked in the company. He caused a lot of friction and was an exceptional micromanager and very domineering.
That has been said about the head of like literally every division there.
I think Vic had a special reputation.
Because the same was said about Andy.
That's true. Although I think Vic had more of a reputation because he tried to spearhead that whole Google Plus equals everything Google kind of philosophy, that search is tightly integrated with Plus and everything else we do is tightly integrated with Plus, which totally died after he left. I think he was a rabble-rouser of sorts.
Wonder what Vic's up to these days.
Where is Vic and Dotra working? I feel like we had a story about this at some point.
He's at
was he? I thought he just retired.
AliveCore Incorporated, CEO of AliveCore Incorporated, whatever they are.
Okay, that's nice.
Yep.
All right.
Apparently he massacred Google Reader, so people didn't like him for that.
That's basically like being Google Hitler.
Well, wait, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. He apparently removed all the social features from Google Reader. He didn't axe it. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
Oh, he just made it easier to kill.
He just made it not competitive with Google Plus.
He just took it off
Which,
life
to be
support,
fair,
basically.
Nobody
Give it a
was
little
using the
wiggle.
social features.
Probably not. But the three people who were very upset.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to a little bit of Google Fiber news. So apparently, if you happen to live in one of the areas that has Google Fiber, and you happen to have one of their TV boxes, because, well, if you have it, you probably do, they've integrated casting support right into the Fiber TV box, which is cool. It makes sense. It's a software upgrade just on the existing box you already got. Except severely limited, it would seem. A lot of apps that you may or may not use just flat out won't cast to it because Google is basically a cable provider, so they have to play by rules now that they didn't have to before. So
I wouldn't say
Overall,
severely limited. It's limited to some extent.
It's pretty limited to me because Watch ESPN doesn't work on it. So.
So the actual apps you can't use, or I should say channels you can't stream, are Hulu, Watch ESPN, Disney Channel, Disney Junior, Disney XD, Watch ABC, Spotify, and HBO Now. And apart from Spotify and HBO, you'll notice all of those are either owned or Disney owns at least a stake in. Disney's a major shareholder in Hulu as well. So yeah.
And the HBO Now one is interesting because HBO Now is the standalone HBO service. It does not work, but HBO Go, which is included with the package that you can buy through Google Fiber, does work. So
Yeah.
definitely a playing nice with the content providers kind of a move. I have to say.
Yeah, the HBO thing makes it pretty clear this is probably down to a business deal where they, agreed probably in their contract with Disney, especially. I wonder why Spotify is not supported. Maybe that's a technical one. That one seems weird. But the HBO Go thing makes it clear that somebody, in the contract said, hey, yeah, you can't, your subscribers, if you want to provide our channel to, your customers, you can't let them, stream standalone versions of the service, which admittedly, like, is a common point of, I wouldn't say abuse, but like it's a way people work around the cable system. My girlfriend and I use her parents' HBO Go password, so it's like, it's something people definitely do.
So what would be really interesting is if they made it so the HBO Go only worked if your account that is tied to your set-top box had HBO package on it. That would be full-on cable provider level of rule enforcement right there. All right, so next we got a little update to Google Now on Tap, which brings some additional functionality. Of course, they've added the ability so that you can pull up on Tap when you have text selected, and it gives you results specific only to the text selected rather than the full body of text. But also some Google Goggle type functionality with images, so you can get contextual search results from that as well. So it's kind of cool stuff. Does Google Goggle still work?
I think it does on most phones. Apparently, it doesn't work on the Android N preview, which surprise. But yeah, this new functionality is like probably like it's 50% of what we have with goggles, so you don't get like actual image search, which goggles kind of did at some point. Like it could recognize very basic things, but you do get image text recognition, basically, which is kind of the whole reason that goggles was useful sometimes. Hopefully they add in things for barcodes and QR codes, because that was handy when goggles did that. I mean, for all the QR codes you encounter in your daily life, but for barcodes, it can be useful for like if you're shopping for a product and want to do price comparisons or something. So we basically get a lot of what Google Goggles did, but now much more tightly integrated into the actual end user experience. So you just open the.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you just open the camera and then hold your home button, and whatever the viewfinder sees, it searches for, which to me is pretty cool.
Can it pull text out of the images like Google Translate?
Yeah, that's basically all it does right now is pull out text.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it seems to almost be kind of like maybe a bit of a word lens, that thing that Google acquired a couple years back and integrated into Translate. It seems like it might be maybe a little based on that.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially if it has Translate features. I wonder if it does.
I don't think it does yet. But though you could probably select the text and then ask for it to be translated and get that.
It's always wonderful when Google comes out with a new feature like this. My first thought is always, so all the stuff that it obviously should do, will it actually ever get that, or is Google going to decide it's worthless before they even get that far?
No, they've already started on the next project.
Yeah.
All right, so the last little bit of Google News this week. So the refund window, which has been hotly debated on a number of occasions because Google has reported it as being a 15-minute refund window that just happens to sometimes work for 48 hours. Well, now it's official. It's a 48-hour refund window, which is kind of interesting because they've gone back and forth a lot on this one.
I wouldn't say they've gone back and forth. They just never actually bothered to update the support document to reflect the policy, which...
Were they actively denying it, though? I seem to recall they're like, nope, it's totally 15 minutes, bro.
They weren't. We actually eventually, 2 years ago, we got them to admit on background that, yeah, in the first 48 hours we'll probably refund you or whatever, but it was like begrudging. Like, we won't say it's automated, even though it clearly is. And even then, they said after 48 hours, then Google will basically comp the dev for any refunds. And even those refunds are mostly automated. And so the support doc obviously doesn't relay this because they don't want people to try to abuse or game the system. But yeah, the support doc now does acknowledge that in the first 48 hours you can submit an online refund request. There's a form now. There wasn't when we first announced this. You actually had to email Google and ask, I think. You can submit the form for a refund with your order number and your reason. And, quote, most requests will be handled within 15 minutes, i.e. automatically. So unless you are manically refunding apps, 48 hours is probably your actual refund window. Again, unless you refund a lot of apps, in which case an actual support agent might look at your case, and that will take, obviously, days comparatively.
Now, actually just getting the refund through the Play Store, just by going to the app page and getting the refund there, that's probably still limited
2 hours.
to 2 hours. Yeah, because that was 15 minutes at one point in time, but they bumped that to 2 hours a long time ago.
Yeah, because it was initially, what was it before it was 15 minutes? Was it 2 hours or was it like 24?
It was 48, I thought.
Was it 48? Okay, yeah, because I remember when they changed it to 15 minutes, everybody was like, whoa. It was considered fairly draconian, and then they switched it back to 2
in
hours.
2010, it was 24.
Oh, okay, so it was 24.
Okay. But yeah, it went from being way too long to suddenly being way too short. It was the biggest overcorrection they could have made.
Yeah.
Short of just killing refunds entirely.
According to the article posted on December 10th of 2010, 73% of Android Police listeners readers didn't think it was fair. So.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people were real pissed about that when they changed it. I remember that being a source of significant ire.
2%. So the poll said is 15-minute Android market refund fair and acceptable. 73% said no, 25% yes, and 2% said other.
Oh, hey, let's talk about it for a second, because the Android market, now that there's Android apps on Chrome OS, who's stupid now? The Play Store, it's OS non-denominational. Makes sense, kind of, I guess. I guess they could just call it the Google market. Never mind. This is a bad argument.
You still lose.
The Google market actually sounds like a good product name, but that discussion's only been had a million times.
Yep, I don't know. I feel like you still lose. The moral of the story is you don't lose if you don't play.
Oh.
Sorry, I just only have bad jokes today. I'm sorry. I'll work on it. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so 48-hour refund window is real and legit. You'll still get the 2 hours through the Play Store if you try to do your refunds that way. So, we have a sponsor this week, David?
We do.
We do.
Have you ever wondered who hosts AndroidPolice.com? No? Well, I'm about to tell you anyways, because of this week's podcast sponsor, Linode. And Android Police has been hosted on Linode for over 5 years now, and we've been very happy with them, and that really is a big part of why they're this week's podcast sponsor.
God damn it. Oh my God. I'm just going to keep playing it.
For being a listener to the Android Police podcast, you can get a $20 Linode service credit if you go to linode.com/AndroidPolice. That is L-I-N as in no, O-D as in dog, E.com/AndroidPolice. And that $20 credit isn't a credit you can't use. That gets you 2 months of service on Linode's base tier, which costs $10 a month. Everything's billed hourly, but if you price it out per month, it's $10 per month for that basic tier. And that gets you a gigabyte of RAM, a CPU core, 24 gigs of SSD storage, 2 terabytes of transfer capacity, 40 gigabits per second in connection on the network, and 125 megabits per second out, all for just $10 a month. Linode offers a variety of plans that scale all the way from 1 gigabyte of RAM and 1 CPU core to 96 gigabytes of RAM and 20 CPU cores. So they have something there for everybody, depending on your server needs. Linode has state-of-the-art servers. They've recently switched from Zen to KVM virtualization, which provided Unix benchmark increases of over 300% for virtual server performance. So they are fast. And that native SSD storage, coupled with a 40 gigabit network and processors, which are the new Intel E5 Xeon processors, which are very fast, offer you cutting-edge servers for not really all that high of a price. You get 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week support, even on holidays. There's a 7-day money-back guarantee for any service, and you can get a server running in under a minute. There are add-on services available for backups, node balancers, and Longview. Everything there to really meet your needs for a server. And like I said, if you head to linode.com/AndroidPolice and sign up today, you'll get that $20 credit. You can check out what Linode's all about. I mean, they host Android Police, and we like them. So what have you got to lose?
So yeah, I'm assuming that'll get recut with no notifications.
Yes, Artem was letting me know that he agreed with a commenter that the wording of a title was awkward.
Well, that's worth interrupting for. I get
This
it.
is a
Very
high priority
important.
notification. Yep, very much.
Well, you could have used one of the 13 levels of notification silencing in the Android N preview to prevent that from happening, David.
You know what, Matt? Actually, I had the phone in Do Not Disturb as far as I was aware,
It's,
but I think I
it's-
accidentally turned it off.
But which
It's a
do not
simple
but
28
which do
step
not
process.
disturb?
Actually, it looks like it either turned off or accidentally turned the volume up. Yep, that's what happened.
That's what happened. Well, hey, we had, as we mentioned at the top, there were lots of announcements of devices, Computex going on this week. Despite the super fantastic name of the Liquid Zest 2 from Acer, we're not going to be talking about that. But Asus has announced several new editions of the Zenfone 3. 3 of them. 3 models of the Zenfone 3 that were announced this week. So big screens, lots of RAM, all kinds of good stuff there.
Circular brushed textures.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be an Asus Zenfone without it.
The circular brush texture honestly kind of stresses me out a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. It just looks stressful.
It looks stressful.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
We saw
Go ahead.
these are the same as the leaked images we saw, right? Basically, and because I think we saw leaks like 2 months ago or something. I think these look basically like those did. Let me go ahead and look that up, because I think we did have a leak, and I feel like maybe they looked a little bit different. Zenfone 3. And information leaked. Nope, they look exactly the same.
Exactly.
Ugly, which is what I'm getting at.
So I think the one that's worth mentioning, the Zenfone 3 Deluxe, which is shipping with 6 gigs of RAM, a Snapdragon 820, and by default 64 gigs of storage, with an option coming later for 256 gigs of storage, in addition to a micro SD card slot. This is totally like a spec horror phone, isn't it? I mean, with a
It is
1080p
observing-
resolution. Like all of that with 1080p resolution.
Aside from the resolution, it is deserving of the title Deluxe.
Fair enough. Fair enough. 23 megapixel camera. Yeah. I'm going to pull this picture up here because there is a fingerprint scanner on here.
Yeah, the sliver scanner.
So I think it's like, if you look at the front of the phone, it also has a circular brush texture, which apparently comes to a center right under the screen. So it looks like pointy under the screen. I think that's my problem with it.
Yeah, I mean
It
that's
looks like it's pinched in the middle.
so the concentric circle brush look is something ASUS has done since the
Transformers.
probably even before those. Yeah, but it's one of their design trademarks, and it is trademarkedly ugly. I don't really get the thing there. So it looks like there are also versions that don't have that though.
It
That
looks
look
like only the original, only the straight Zenfone 3 actually has it on the back.
Okay, the deluxe has the kind of OnePlus looking sandstone texture thing, but maybe
Yeah.
it's not. Maybe it's just matte aluminum and it's
The
a
deluxe
crappy
has it on the
render.
front. Has the circle brush on the front.
It looks very grainy. It looks very sandstony.
It does. It looks really grainy, but I bet it's actually like matte aluminum.
Yeah, probably.
They just wanted to make sure you knew it was like really
Okay.
matte.
So the Ultra, it looks different though. So on the Ultra, it looks smooth. So they have the Deluxe, the regular, and the Ultra, which is not confusing in any way. I really hate this endless superlative naming scheme of things. Like whenever, like the Zenfone Ultimate, is that going to be a thing too? What about the Zenfone Penultimate?
That one better come with a stylus.
We'll have an ultimate next year. We're just not quite there yet.
The thing about it is, so the Ultra, it just has a bigger screen. It looks like a worse processor, less RAM than the Deluxe. So, it's like the names don't even make sense, even like statistically.
Oh, because the Ultra's big. Because when Sony made an Ultra phone, everybody else was like, "Ultra is big now. That's what it means."
6.8.
Smartphone naming.
By the way, when we say big, 6.8-inch display.
And that is what we call in the business a big ass phone. It is a huge phone. That is borderline not pocketable.
That is not even a small tablet. It's just a tablet.
Yeah.
It's a small-ish tablet. It's on the small-ish end of the tablet spectrum.
Well, we did have the Nexus 7, couple of them even. I think it's fair to say that's just tablet size.
Yeah.
Thinner bezels, but still.
Yeah, it is a large phone. So,
I bet you it's still smaller than the Dell Streak.
and so they say it has this, amazing 23 megapixel new Sony IMX318 camera, but every Asus phone I've used has the worst photo processing. Like, it is just objectively bad. And I wonder if this is going to be better, because on the Zenfone 2 it just straight up sucked. The camera was like supposed to be technically impressive, but it basically just showed that, wow, smartphone cameras are basically still like 80% image processing and 20% the sensor's actual capability. So we will, I guess, see what's up with those. Did they announce U.S. pricing? Asus usually does.
They listed.
Yes, they did.
Yep.
$249, with the deluxe costing twice that, $499, and the Ultra is actually a little bit less at $479. Okay, so I guess the deluxe is kind of the spec geek phone, which 256. Who needs 256 gigabytes of storage on a phone?
Well, I think $499 still only gets you the 64 gigs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 256 will probably be $599.
Like, what are you doing with all that storage? Like, I actually want to know. What is on your phone?
Those are the people who can't stream, David. All of them.
I guess, but how do they even get 256 gigabytes of data to begin with if they can't stream? That's so much information. My whole music library is like 35 gigabytes, and that's like over 4,000 or 5,000 songs.
Easy explanation. Simple. I can tell you exactly what it is right now. All music is stored in FLAC.
Oh, okay, that's nice. That's
you
so
go.
nice for those people. I'm so happy for them. Yeah.
It's all that
Zenfone 3.
4K video. It's all that 4K video that you can watch on your phone in 1080p too.
Oh yeah, on 10. Well, okay, that's a separate discussion. But 4K video on 1080p isn't completely useless. It still has its purpose, just not rendered in 4K. If it's rendered in 1080p, it's fine.
I would like to know more about this after the podcast.
Okay, I mean, we can have a brief discussion about it, but the idea is that the 4K, when you capture in 4K, you're capturing more information, and that essentially even when you downscale 4K to 1080p, it's going to look better than content captured in 1080p for a number of reasons. But it is like a demonstrable effect, and it's part of the reason. You can shoot a movie that's going to be played in 1080p everywhere, but you're still using 4K cameras because they afford you room to crop and stuff, and it does have benefits. Like there are actual real reasons to play back 4K video at 1080p.
Yeah, I remember when HD was new, like on a standard television, watching HD channels, and they looked better, and you couldn't understand how it looked better, but it did. So.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like if you were to tell somebody if you could play back a video in 480p on YouTube on a 480p screen versus a 1080p video, the 1080p video would still probably look better even on the 480p screen. That might be
I'm
more
gonna
intuitive.
go grab a couple of tube televisions and test this out.
Do it.
It's a good idea.
Tube
I actually
television,
saw.
Chromecast. Good luck finding one that has an HDMI port, but just.
I'll find a way.
I
Make it
actually
work.
I actually have a relevant video for that. I watched this video on YouTube by Lazy Game Reviews where he took an old Gold Star TV that only had basically like the antenna input, and he used a series of adapters, like 3 of them, to make it go to HDMI on his PC, and played Fallout on a monochrome Gold Star television.
That's
And
great.
it was actually pretty cool.
I just want somebody to do something like that and figure out a way to make a Nintendo Zapper work on a 1080p television. That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Maybe.
I just want to play Duck Hunt in 1080p. Is that too much to ask?
I want to play
Wasn't-
Duck Hunt in more pixels than it ever actually had.
Gold Star
That's
was
awful.
LG, right?
Gold Star was the name of LG before it merged with a company called Lucky something. And so
Lucky
it was
Gold
Lucky
Star.
and Gold Star, Lucky Gold Star, LG, yeah. And they rebranded because Gold Star stuff was terrible. And so they decided it was a good idea to change the name of the company.
Hey, speaking of LG,
Yeah.
LG announced a new phone this week too. A 5.7-inch phone, not quite 6.8 inches, but still up there in size. The Stylus 2 Plus. So they're low cost note competitor, I guess, would be the best
But
way.
what's amazing to me is these don't actually have stylus digitizers.
No.
Like these are capacitive based. So it's not even like a true note competitor as much as a phone with a built-in kind of crappy stylus.
To tell the truth, what surprised me was that it was a phone and not a stylus.
Well, it's better than the Stylo. I think they're actually like 2 separate lines. The Stylo, I think, may actually just be a T-Mobile specific branding, and maybe Stylus is like the international branding of that phone.
Because
I don't know.
T-Mobile was like, what does stylus, like, why would you call it that? They were like, okay, we'll use a made-up word. How about stylo?
That would make sense.
Stylo.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be at your local. I believe they released. Did they release pricing for that? They're actually really cheap phones. Did they release pricing? They didn't. But I think the current Stylo phone or whatever is something ridiculous, like $200 and something. They're decidedly inexpensive.
So does anybody know? Do they use the who was it? Nvidia that had the stylus pressure sensitive technology?
Yeah, and that was mostly software based, and it works okay. But I'm gonna guess LG is doing their own thing.
They're probably not using Nvidia chips in these, would be my guess.
I don't think there's been an NVIDIA-powered phone in, it's got to be over 2 years now. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
Been a while. Rolly keyboard. I don't know why there's a image of somebody writing the word Rolly keyboard, but there is. So.
Well, they're sharing the Rolly keyboard they found on the internet, and they're enhancing their shareability by handwriting their message. It adds a
That-
personal touch.
That message looks remarkably not like handwriting.
It doesn't. There's no way you could actually achieve that level of smoothness on a capacitive stylus. It's just so. Oh, I don't even understand the marketing behind it. I think the only reason these sell is because they're big screen, low price. That's the whole pitch.
Yep. And
Is the
the
stylus
stylus.
reversible?
I don't know. We could try. I can go to a T-Mobile store and tell you
I think
how
you should try it.
reversible it is.
You can do a video live from T-Mobile. We're gonna see if we can ruin the Stylus 2 Plus.
Can be our first Facebook Live content.
Wait. For some reason, I don't know. This just brings up. For some reason, I'm thinking the original one didn't even have a slot for the stylus.
You might be right about that.
Oh wait, this one does. I'm sorry, this one does. It definitely shows it in the image. It's not reversible. I can tell. You can tell because of how it is.
I wish it didn't have a slot, and it was just like attached to one of those little loops that you put on like an accessory loop on a phone.
If you look, the end of it is just hideously misshapen. There's no way.
Oh, so it's what you might call a anti-reverse stylus insertion prevention method of sorts.
I probably wouldn't call it that, but
it might actually be, engineering of some kind.
Yep. So it's reverse. It's irreversible. All right, so all right, so moving on. Samsung had an announcement this week. No new phones, but several. By several, I mean two new accessories. So we've got the Gear Fit 2, which is the sequel to the Gear Fit 1. Go figure. And also the Icon X wireless earbuds. We've been hearing about these for a couple months now. We'll pull the image up here on the screen for the video viewers here. So the Icon X headphones, the Gear Fit 2, I think we kind of know what that is because it's the second one and it's a little bit curvier and okay, great. The Icon X headphones, of course, the truly wireless headphones from Samsung. So they're just two earbuds that are separate and not even wired to each other. And
you know what I want to never have to say in my life? Oh shit! I dropped my headphones again. And that's essentially what you're buying.
Right.
Walking along the street, oh, my headphones fell out. It's so annoying when this happens. It's so annoying when somebody steps on my headphones. I get the concept and why it's an appealing thing to develop because oh, well, they're so ultra portable, but they're ultra easy to lose. I mean, I like wireless headphones, but this seems like the ultra tiny flip phones that started to become popular at one point because it's just cool because they're so small. But then you're like, oh, well, this is probably actually not optimal.
I feel like just looking at these pictures, I feel like these things probably stick out of your ear pretty far too.
I feel like they're a truncated Bluetooth earpiece.
Yeah. So, I don't know. If it sticks out of your ear and you do basically anything that involves you putting your hand over your head, you're going to knock the thing out.
I think that if you even kind of tilt too far to one side, unless those are super light, they're probably taking a fall. Or they stick in there really well.
Yeah, I would imagine you have to, choose the right ear tip.
You have to apply two different sides of the epoxy to it before you put it in your ear.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, for things like this, it makes sense. I could understand these could be good in a situation where you have fitted earbuds, which are things you can buy. But who wants to do that? Get an ear mold taken. Yeah, okay.
Now, they just send it with a free tube of Fixodent.
And then there's the Fit 2, which is the original Gear Fit. I mean, so part of me likes the way the Gear Fit looks because it's kind of got that magically futuristic kind of aesthetic to it where it's oh, it's this oddly shaped screen that sits on your wrist. But at the same time, it's still just a step tracker with a clock on it, and that does notifications now. And I guess it's cheaper than a real smartwatch, so in that sense, I find it more like justifiable than an actual smartwatch. $180 is a lot of money, but it's not like a crazy amount of money. I would actually, in all honesty, I would probably prefer this over an Android Wear smartwatch, but I wouldn't really want this in the first place because it's still just, it's overkill. The Xiaomi Mi Band 2 came out recently, and that cost the equivalent of $23. And it has a little LED clock on it that also displays your step count, and it pairs via Bluetooth to your phone. And it can function standalone because it's just a stupid pedometer and a clock. And that sounds fine to me. That's kind of pretty much all I want on my wrist is the clock and the step counting.
This one looks way cooler. I'm sorry, this one looks way cooler than the Xiaomi.
It does. Does it look $150 cooler? I'm really not so sure.
Probably only like $120 cooler.
Yeah, I don't know. Dollar for dollar, I have trouble justifying products in this category, generally speaking. I know Cody doesn't agree with me, but it's...
Well, yeah, you're not going to find me citing positively towards the Gear line at all. I don't see the point. I don't like the ecosystem on that. But yeah, I like Android Wear. Wear's been pretty good to me. So yeah, I don't know. The fitness trackers, Fitbit, stuff like that, if you're into it, that's awesome. They work. I don't really get the point of Xiaomi's ban necessarily, except that it's cheap, but hey, cheap is a point.
I'd just like to point out that I have a Fitbit One, and I have a Huawei watch, and I have the original Zen watch, and I actually wear all three of them, and I have no idea why.
At once? Please say it once, please.
Well, no. I don't ever wear the Zen watch and the Huawei watch at the same time. But when I work out, I don't want to wear the Huawei watch, which is stupid because it's the only one that has the heart rate monitor that is built into it. But I don't. It's too nice. I don't want to. It's way too nice looking to get all sweaty and gross. So I have the Zen watch, which is like a silicone watch band. So I wear that when I work out, but the Fitbit's on me at all times. And so I have at any given point in time, I have 5 things tracking my steps, and I don't know why. It's just, well, let's put this one on there. And yeah, I don't actually use any of it. It's just there.
Okay, so fun fact, you bring up the heart rate sensor on the Huawei watch. Mm-hmm. Unless you're constantly asking it to track your heart rate or you're running an app that manually does it,
yeah,
it's not doing that anyway.
Yeah, you have to ask it, or there are apps that will run it constantly, but I don't wear it when I work out anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And then the motion sensitivity stuff that they have with Google Fit that kind of works sort of, and they hyped it up a lot during I/O. That will work with the Zen watch once it gets Android Wear 2.0. Supposed to.
Actually, so what you're saying is that the glorified pedometers that are Android Wear watches can all kind of be glorified pedometers when there are new glorified pedometer features added to Android Wear. That's kind of what I take away from this, and it's why I find it so hard to justify the price of most Wear devices.
If you didn't hear some of the sentences I said in between, then yes, that would be exactly what I said.
So there's actually this is obviously a little bit of a tangent, but there's actually an app called Tracker for Android Wear, which I think is probably about the coolest thing that I found on Android Wear because it does rep counting. So if you lift or do any workouts that are repetition based, you can actually program it to recognize the different workouts that you do, and it's got a bunch that are pre-programmed. So when you're done, it'll actually just give you a log of how many reps of everything you did, which I think is kind of cool. But the only thing is, if you do one-handed exercises, it will only recognize the exercises you do with one hand. So
yeah, all those one-handed exercises,
Hey, when you lift,
that's a masturbation joke, everybody. I'm just letting you know. That's what that is.
When your gym only has dumbbells and no barbells, there's a lot of one-handed exercise.
They only have the right-handed barbells today. Damn it.
Well, no.
But yeah, anyway, that's the same thing that Google Fit started doing. Like, it was like 9 months ago or something. They added that feature so you could just turn it on and say, "Hey, I'm going to do push-ups now," and it would detect the motion of the watch and kind of figure out what your rep count was. It wasn't great, but it worked.
Yeah, the tracker seems to work pretty well. Like I said, it has a bunch of stuff that it knows by default, but I think what I like about it the most is that you can just like, if it doesn't recognize what you were doing, you just open up the app and you tell it, oh, that was this, and then the next time you do that, it recognizes it. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that
Anyways,
is cool.
So we also had some announcements from Sony, the X series, which we've already seen these, but apparently they are now available for pre-order, and that they're going to be coming to the U.S., which is something that really shouldn't be news, but it is in this particular case.
Hey,
Because
do you remember that time that Sony wanted to sell everybody a phone with a Snapdragon, what is it, 650 or 652? 650 for $550? Yeah, nobody else is going to remember it either. Sony.
I just want a new Xperia Play. Is that too much to ask for?
Probably, yeah. These
don't know
phones
how-
are so blatantly overpriced.
I don't know if I will ever hear the name Xperia Play and not immediately get the image of the Android bug droid with the sewn on thumbs.
Oh, God, please don't remind
Iconic,
everybody of that. We all,
We've all moved on. Everybody has moved on from that except for me. Apparently.
we've all had our therapy on that issue. It's, oh, I shudder. But yeah, this phone is, Sony is still essentially, so what Sony's doing is, right now, Sony's Xperia unit was actually profitable last fiscal quarter, made like $200 million or something, which is pretty impressive. But that's
Wow.
because they are slashing and burning jobs like crazy, and they're just completely nuking the whole division. So when you're not paying anybody that you were paying before, and your phones have an average selling price that is very, very high, even when you're still losing overall market share, turning a profit's probably possible. So what they're doing here is essentially they're starting to issue a self-correction. So right now, Sony's biggest threat is that eventually their market share becomes so small that overhead on cost of production and stuff is going to outstrip profitability. So what did they do with the Xperia X? Well, they reduced the bill of materials. They made a cheaper phone. And so hopefully they'll be able to still make a profit because the average selling price is still high, but now the material cost is lower. Even if the average selling price is a little lower, the bill of materials is lower enough now that they can have a sustainable business for the time being. The problem is that if Sony keeps losing market share, eventually this will become unprofitable, and you'll have an HTC situation where the company is losing market share so quickly that it's impossible to make money selling phones anymore. So I have to wonder if Sony's essentially if it's just so cynical that they're saying, listen, we're going to make money while we can, and once it's no longer practical, we'll just exit the business or sell the unit. Because the Xperia X is in every way a downgrade from the old Z series, no doubt.
All right. No
That
counterpoint.
sounds true.
There's no counterpoint to be had. So
You can buy one soon.
in the U.S. even in the
You
U.S.
can,
even
for full price on Sony's website and
yes.
probably Amazon.
Well,
You
this
don't think T-Mobile will get it?
Oh, hey, Ryan's going to review it for us. Be on the lookout for that.
All right. Speaking of reviews, David, you've been running around with a Xiaomi Mi Max for a while now.
Admittedly, I only ran around with it for like 2 days because I installed the Google Play services and Framework and the Play Store, and that's not enough for it to work right. So there are still some issues. There are actually some other smaller Google packages that need to be installed, like Google Contact Sync and stuff that I wasn't aware of. So it didn't really work all that well. Not to mention the Chinese ROM that it was running, wouldn't even sync my Google contacts because it wasn't designed to do that because China. So it is a huge phone that costs the equivalent of, oh god, I forget how much now. I'm gonna have to look this up in the article. Maybe some money. It is like impressively inexpensive. Yeah, so the equivalent of $260 for a phone that has, how big is the screen here? 6.4 inches. Yeah, 6.42 inches, I think, with a Snapdragon 652 processor. So to make a point of comparison here, we were just talking about the Xperia X by Sony, which will cost $550 for a Snapdragon 650, which is marginally less good than the 652, and yet this phone costs half the money, which is incredible. It's huge. The battery lasts forever. It has a, I believe, 4,800 milliamp hour battery, which is like tablet size, which makes sense because it's almost a tablet size phone. Overall, I hate my UI with a passion. It is, ugh, it is gross. But the fact that the battery lasts so long, that it performs relatively well, and it generally works like you would expect an Android handset to work, it's hard to argue with what Xiaomi's doing. I mean, their whole thing is selling you their services and their accessories, which I don't know if that's going to work in America, but it's still, for the money, and arguably a good product. Even the rear camera is actually pretty decent in good lighting. It's totally passable. So yeah, it's a very interesting phone and one that, given the MSRP, is highly impressive.
All right, so that's the Xiaomi Mi Max, which is I don't know. That's hard to say. I don't think I'm gonna say it anymore. We're just not gonna talk about that phone anymore.
Yeah, and for the record, the Redmi Note 3, which I also have, has a 4,100 milliamp hour battery, but only a 5.5 inch screen. So the battery in that phone actually should last longer. Some people with Redmi Note 3s report screen on times of like 12 hours. It's completely ridiculous. Obviously, Xiaomi's battery and power consumption features are very aggressive to the point of annoyance. But it does show they also just kind of focus on just jamming a huge battery into all their phones, which is something I completely commend. Screw saving 2 or 3 millimeters. Just give me the fat battery. That's what everybody wants. So yeah.
Yeah, you had the poll question posted on there about is your battery life. I have a Note 5 and I feel like it's completely unacceptable for a phone that's this size to have battery life as poor as it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have Greenify installed?
I do not. I
Uh,
probably should.
You give it a try. My girlfriend has the S6 Edge Plus, and that made the difference, at least for her.
Yeah. I
Granted,
don't know.
Greenify is a band-aid that you shouldn't have to use in the first place.
It is.
Agreed. Yeah, my Note 5, I get on and off really good battery life and then really bad battery life. And
Great. It's pretty unpredictable. Yeah.
yeah. And though it very much, like, I track down a lot of problems specific to certain apps. Like 2 or 3 apps I can almost specifically pick out are always problem territory.
Yep, and that's why Greenify is typically a decent solution to kind of patch that issue if there are specific apps that are causing brain problems.
The weird thing is, a couple of those apps, not problems on like Nexus devices or any other thing
Yeah.
outside of Samsung. That's the thing that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it totally makes sense if you know how Samsung builds ROMs.
Yep, Samsung dicking around with Android. Surprise.
Yep.
Yep. All right, hey, so we got a home screen submission from Sebastian. He says, "I just want to show you my home screen from my Nexus 5." So he's going to show it to us, and we're going to show it to you. So here is Sebastian's Nexus 5. It is very colorful.
I feel like I've seen this illustration before, but I can't remember where.
Appears to be.
Matt, are you presenting to everyone?
What's that?
Are you presenting to everyone?
I am presenting to everyone.
Oh, the camera went to Cody, and I was confused. It went to Cody again.
Oh, I wasn't talking. I said I had Matt selected as the focus. It shouldn't fly to Cody.
Oh. Okay, well I clicked on
wasn't
Matt
even
anyway, so
sound.
now I can see it.
All right, everybody blame Cody.
I'm good with that.
I like this.
I like it too.
It's relatively. It's not heavily modified. And I mean, it's actually pretty standard. It's borderline. We wouldn't actually feature it on the podcast. It's so normal. But between the background, the weather is that what weather widget is that?
Weather timeline, of course.
You weather timeline people.
Is there anything else?
But yeah, overall, it's good. Pretty good. I don't see the Google Now widget is so whatever. But
I want to love the Google Now widget, but it's so useless for me.
it really is. When you have the Google Now pane, the widget is like, hey, what if we had Google Now but worse?
Yeah. I like that it has a symmetrical number of screens. That's good. The fab on the calendar widget is a bit much for me, for my tastes.
And you can't make the calendar widget full width? Or is that just so you have a blank space to touch?
Hey, wait a second. I'm
It
gonna
should
call
work either way.
You can expand it to full width, but I'm gonna call shenanigans because on this page there are 4 home screens, but on all the rest there are 5.
Wait.
Oh, he's hiding a home screen from us.
He is.
Whoa.
The secret home
Second
screen.
page. Yeah.
'Cause I'm actually
now?
the opposite of Liam. Like I always want an odd number of pages so that I can have a middle page. That's the main page. Middle page has to be the main page.
I used to do that for so long, and I really liked it, but I was using the Google Now launcher so much, and it doesn't like that, so I gave up. I finally switched over to what I think of as Samsung's way.
All right, well, I don't see personally too much to discuss about this home screen otherwise, other than the fact that I very much enjoy that the spelling of camera in Germany is with a K.
The Contacts app is in a folder with the phone, which makes it seem like a lot of work to get to the phone.
It's like you could save, so it's 2 taps to get the contacts, but it could still be 2 taps. It was just the phone icon.
Yeah. Like 2 tabs to get to contacts is called the app drawer. So you could just have 1 to get to the phone.
You could.
The camera icon's really tall. Whose camera icon is that? This is
That's not the
this
stock.
is somebody. No, this is somebody's.
Somebody's skin.
Somebody's. I don't know. I've seen it before though. But it's
Interesting.
too tall. It's
That's
taller
very-
than the stock one. Is what I mean.
It's an odd tweak to make. Also,
It's,
I like that Google Keep, the German name is Notizen,
which is notes or
but
notice.
fly. Yeah, I guess, yeah, it's maybe that's a custom name. I wonder if it actually is called that in Germany.
I would be surprised, right? Because it's a brand. So
Yeah. All right. Oh, he has a custom Twitter icon, so there's definitely icon pack action going on here,
Right.
and a custom Instagram icon. Yeah, there's some tomfoolery happening here.
Tomfoolery.
I don't like that Twitter icon.
the wing is like way recessed.
Yeah, strangely so. Like, it just
Scuttlefield
looks like
says. Scuttlefield said maybe he's using something that scales the icons, but it wouldn't. That wouldn't actually graphically extend the camera body. So I'm pretty sure it's an icon pack, or like some manufacturer has a crazy icon.
All right, I give this home screen 3 out of 5 suspiciously subtle icon packs. Also, the phone icon is different too. Like, what's going on with that? Look at all the
Oh.
weird diagonal intersections.
We got, yeah.
What's going on with
It's-
that phone? That phone is in like the 4th dimension.
Maybe that's why he has to keep it in a folder.
The phone will go full tetrahedron if it's allowed to be outside the folder.
It is a
I'm going
dimensional
to-
folder.
I'll do.
That might be the
I'll
episode
do-
title.
1 out of 5 hidden home screens plus 3 out of 4 home screen columns used by a calendar widget. You do the math.
I've got to say, it really annoys me that the the calendar widget isn't the full width of the home screen, even though it's the only thing in there. I can
What does the
understand why.
hamburger icon do? I think I've seen this widget before, but I don't remember what it is.
I was wondering that too.
Yeah, I don't
All
know
right.
I don't know what calendar app that is because it's not the stock one.
I will find it.
Find it.
Maybe.
We will sit in silence while you look.
Okay, please do.
I will
Nobody
say,
say anything.
The 2-letter abbreviations of the days of the week in German look like a harmonic scale. Mo,
they
di,
do.
mi, do, fra, sa, so.
All right.
It's called calendar widget.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm not joking.
That is
The
exactly
Play Store
what you call it.
description, I don't think tells me what the hamburger does.
You must
nope.
download this and try it out.
Also, okay, another thing. The little blue planet's outline makes it look like you're reverse highlighting the inbox and Chrome icons.
Yeah, I feel like you're about to tell me what those icons do.
Yes.
I actually wanted that. I
Touch the
wanted that to
icons
be.
to
I
open
wanted that to
apps.
be a folder. Like that's the animation that expands out to show you the
The
items.
folder. Like the
That would-
folder
that
actually
would
takes up
actually be kind of
more
cool.
space than the icons it contains.
Yes.
For all the things we're pointing out about this home screen, you may as well call us the minutia police this week. You're tearing this home screen apart.
After we all said
So,
we didn't like it, it's
I still mostly like it. It's
That's
nice.
And on that note, I think I know what I have to score this. Since I have so little to say on this, I'm going to give it 2 out of 3 opinions.
2 out of 3 opinions.
But there are 4 of us.
9
Matt
out of
has
10.
not given one yet.
9 out of 10
Well,
minutias.
And
One of
then
us is
there's-
hidden, so
Okay.
All right, well that's going to do it for this week's show. If you have your own home screen you would like to submit to us, you can email it to us at podcast@androidpolice.com. You can also give us a call at 530-HELLO-AP. That is 530-435-5627. You can also find us on Twitter at Android Police, on Google Plus and Facebook and app.net.
And once again, this week's Android Police podcast is brought to you by Linode. Check them out at linode.com/Android Police to get a free $20 Linode service credit. We had a antique submitted to us in mid-show, but I think we can do it next week. It's from Wade County. And Wade County, if you're still out there, we will do your antique next week because it is a Motorola Admiral,
oh my
a
god.
phone with an amazing name
Would you
and-
say
an equally amazing girth.
we're doing the antique next week?
We're doing the antique. We're doing the Admiral next week.
Doing the Admiral.
That sounds like
That
yacht club
sounds
gossip.
Yeah. It sounds like a real thing.
Oh, jeez. I'm looking this thing up because I've never heard of it.
You never heard of the Motorola Admiral?
No. No, this looks like it belongs in the Windows Phone days. Or Windows Mobile.
I admit
Whatever.
the only reason I remember the Admiral is I think because it was in Ron's post about how Motorola's product line had gotten so bloated and ridiculous in terms of the number of devices they're releasing, and the Motorola Admiral was in there somewhere. And I was like, what the fuck? I don't remember Motorola even making this phone. They should have called it the Motorola Shameless BlackBerry plus capacitive
no.
navigation icons.
Oh,
It was
totally.
a Sprint push-to-talk phone.
Yes.
Can I just say I hate push-to-talk phones? I just have bad memories of like being in the grocery store and people walking around in other aisles pushing to talk.
And chirping.
It's
Oh,
like
I
I don't
hate
need to
it.
know. Like your conversation is not my business, and frankly, I
The
wish I
worst
wasn't
of a
hearing.
pager means the best of a phone.
All with the worst of a walkie-talkie.
Yes.
So, okay, you called this a blatant BlackBerry copy, but this reminds me so much more of the blatant BlackBerry copy that Palm became known for.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess
all
so.
of the
Probably.
bad copies.
You mean
My
the Trio?
pre
Yeah, like that.
my early phone history, in terms of form factor lineage, is definitely not up to par. So yeah, this
Look
could
at
very well
these
be more
edges.
Palmish.
Oh
Look
my
at
god!
look at how thick that phone is. It is substantial.
This is incredible, actually.
Well, for that time, it was substantial. Now that's still dwarfed by anything
Yeah,
we
it's
can
How
only
carry.
small is
so
it?
12.2 millimeters. So it actually wasn't crazy thick. It was thick, but not like weirdly so. The display was a whopping 3.1 inches.
What was the resolution? I shuddered to
480
death.
by 640. It was a 4/3 display.
Wow.
A
Well-
phone with a 4/3 display.
Hey, if it's too bad it doesn't run Android, but I mean, if we wanted to go antiques, this would be. I would almost love to do this one just for laughs.
Yeah,
This is the Singular 2125 from like
Singular.
two.
Oh my god.
Yes, before AT&T had totally consumed it. Oh god,
Is
this
that
thing
like a
was.
carabiner on top, carabiner hook, or is that like just the way it looks?
No, that's the top of the phone. It's it doesn't go through. That's like just
Dear
Oh my
God.
God.
antenna portion or
No.
something.
Why?
Wow.
I had a Trio
Oh, yeah, and-
Centro.
The selfie mirror.
Yes, I remember those.
Oh
Amazing.
wow, was that ever the worst idea ever?
That's outstanding.
Here's a tiny scratched version of something that will look nothing like your final picture.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and head out.
I'm gonna get a
And
pizza.
You're gonna get a pizza
Yeah.
without us,
delicious.
Liam?
2 Boots. Great pizza.
2 Boots Gray Pizza. What does that even mean?
It's
Are
called
you
I
2
speaking
confused.
New
Boots.
York to us?
It's called 2 Boots. It's a pizza place. They serve great pizza.
2 Boots. Okay.
The 2 Boots are Louisiana and Italy, if you're wondering.
Okay. That's
That
this
doesn't
conversation has gone full New York.
It's fantastic, though. This is